Back, and we're in Kauai's biggest little town, the beautiful town of Hanapepe. And with me is the curator of Storybook Theatre of Hawaii, and also the gentleman that's known as the man with the chicken, one of the uncles to Russell the Rooster, none other than Mr. Mark Jeffers. Mark, amongst many hats that you're wearing, today you're wearing a different hat in regards to the Children's Media Center. That's right. The Children's Media Center, Dickie, is it's one where I have to wear lots of hats, from construction consulting, looking at the whole project building-wise, to the regular television show, what we're doing on TV, and every place in between. We're running a small business, a small nonprofit business, and we're trying to make it grow in this time of not too much growth. And so we think we have a good seed, and we're planting that seed, and we're going to try to water it every day, and I think it's going to grow. Today we had the formal blessing. When you make reference to the seed that you want to plant, for the benefit of the viewing audience, tell us about this particular project that's happening right directly behind us. Okay, well, what this is a first of its kind. In Hawaii, there is no such thing as children's educational television. The Department of Education produces curriculum shows for their kids. The public channel brings in educational channels. Most of what we see is produced, done, built, thought up on the mainland or other places. So it's pretty natural conclusion to take what we've done for the last 25 years, which is tell stories to children in theatrical productions and storytelling events, and bring that into media, put it into radio, put it into television, make videos, make books, make things for children here from the islands with the kids of the islands. So it's the first children's media center ever, and it's the first children's media center here on the islands, making shows for kids, family entertainment with an educational flavor. And many of the old-timers, we are smack dab in the middle of Hanapepe. Tell us exactly where we're located, and this particular historical building used to be, I understand, an old chop suey house. Well, I think we should really talk to some of the old-timers about that, because their memories are fairly clear about what this town was like in the 1930s and the 1940s. This building behind us was built in 1933. And as Mr. Ozaki said today, it was called the Sankihyong Chinese Restaurant. Now, I'm assuming it went on as a Chinese restaurant for at least 20 or 30 years. And there are some stories about the restaurant. Upstairs, they had a little waiter, a dumb waiter that came up and brought the meals to the party groups upstairs. Down below, people could come in for a breakfast or, just get a box lunch or plate lunch. And I think that probably they fed all the staff, and the staff probably lived close by. You know, these houses in Hanapepe, behind the main business, you have the houses where the people live. And so I think it was a pretty strong family affair. Although I would like to know the name of the people that created the building. I don't think that Sankihyong is the name of the people, the family itself. I think that's the name of the restaurant. So I'm interested in the history of Hanapepe, and in particular this building. In the 1950s, I believe, the Obatake family came in, took the building as part of their business, which seemed to be mostly jewelry, as Mr. Nakashima was saying today, polishing stones, local stones as well as imported stones. And then, of course, Hurricane Iniki hit. This building had already gone through 2 hurricanes, at least. So it's a pretty rough and ready building. And the third hurricane, though, Iniki, took the roof off, but the structure is solid. So what we did was, when the Obatake family let go of the lease, we found out what was happening about the building from a state archaeologist who said, well, why don't you check out this place? Old and creaky. We went inside. She showed us around. She said, since you're a nonprofit, you could probably get a pretty favorable lease with the state of Hawaii if you really played your cards right. So we tried to. We put the paperwork together, and we started on that long road of working out a state lease. The land here is Hawaiian land. It's unceded land here. And the building itself is managed by the state. And so we do have a commitment letter from the state of Hawaii to give us a 55-year lease on the building. They have to assess the lease price, so that'll be favorable to our nonprofit status. So we're hoping that the building can be renovated. It's called, actually, rehabilitation is the name of what we do with historic preservation. So the county of Kauai came in, and they of course, it's actually my rooster that stopped the bulldozer. He jumped out in front of the bulldozer when the bulldozer was just about ready to knock down the building, and the bulldozer stopped because he didn't want to run over the chicken. But we stopped the bulldozers, and the state actually had a demolition order on the building.
And but we stopped that, and we took the long road. We got the lease, and now we're interested in rehabilitation, which is board by board. Peel them off, scrape them, put them back on, and make it nice like a Waimea plantation cottage, that kind of vintage.
And we drive by this main drag here in old Hanapepe town, I should say. When we look from the outside, we really don't realize how big this particular building is. Is this pumping you up? I mean, are your emotions and your energies just flowing endlessly, especially since you've gotten thus far, when most people said that it'll never be done?
You have a way with words, Dickie. I would say I have tempered my emotions, because when you spend 2 years trading paperwork with the various government agencies, you have to kind of keep your emotions in check. But if the process is correct and you play your cards right, it works. This building has almost 3,500 square feet. Inside, it goes way in the back, and then upstairs, of course, we have room for a retail store for children's educational products, and that'll be an interactive site where kids can come in and be part of what's happening. It'll also be a place where nonprofit groups can sell their sweetbread or sell their tickets or sell their baseball caps. We want to be a community organization. And then we'll have a radio studio, like, for example, Oprah Winfrey, where there's seating and the desk and the counter and people. There's some live interaction going on in radio. And we'll have a television, 2 television sets that are fantasy, kind of like a cross between Disney and Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood. And then, of course, in the back of the building, we'll have a beautiful deck coming out and an old-style, Hawaiian-style backyard. And I'm hoping that the backyard set will be real sweet, chicken coop, glass ball, old style. So people, when the brothers come over, they'll feel like playing music, and we can do a family sitcom from back there, or a comedy, or people can write stories. There's a lot of stories in Hanapepe. You ask any of these old timers around here, they all got a lot of memories and stories. And so we know, as storytellers, myself, I've been a storyteller for over 20 years with kids, that we know that those same stories, can become live media for the enjoyment of not only people here in Hanapepe or the west side, but all of Kauai and all of Hawaii. And our dream is actually to sell our programs and take our programs all throughout East and West. I believe that if our programs could be translated into Japanese or Korean or Vietnamese, that we would be an interesting show for people to see in those places in the world. We could also be a first cultural link. A lot of people in Burma don't really know what living in the United States is like. They may have heard of Hawaii, but they don't know what it's like. And the first best thing to exchange with any other country is your stories and your family point of view. What do you value for your kids?
And one of these dreams certainly has recently been fulfilled in the likes of Russell the Rooster, accompanied by Calvin the dog, I should say. Yeah. Now, tell us, for the viewing audience that have been, consistently checking out Russell the Rooster show, tell us a little bit about the show, what the format is all about, and obviously that it's a great, clean show for children.
Right. Well, thanks for that question, because first of all, people need to understand that we're dealing at a certain technical level. We are not even in Honolulu in terms of the technical quality. So graphics and all the fancy stuff you see in a movie and the fast editing, not only can we not do that at this point, but in a lot of ways, I might even choose to not do that real fast editing. My eyes kind of go blurry when I see so many images passing the screen. With people like Rob Zelkowski and Will Welsh and some of the people that have helped out on the show, I think what our idea is to, number one, is be something that's watchable for young kids. And I'm talking children between 2 and 3 years old and about 10 or 11 years old. So number one is all these kids in all the schools have seen Russell the Rooster already, because as a traveling storyteller, I've gone around to the schools and told stories with my rooster. So they know me. The first and foremost thing in any kind of media is recognition. And if children recognize me and the rooster, they're more likely to enjoy the program and find out what we're doing on the program. Right now, Dickie, it's I guess you'd call it a magazine format, where we're trying to see ahead what's happening on the island. Let's go down to the town celebration. Actually, we're following in your footsteps, and we're trying to kind of make it into a children's magazine show. But in the meantime, we have, of course, as a storyteller and as a teacher, I know there's certain kinds of curriculum ideas that are fun to develop on the television show. So in the back of our minds always are things like children's literacy, how to get kids to read more, how to have them pay attention to print. Also health and fitness, how to keep your body strong, how to think about your body and what's going into it. Not only food, but also media. We don't realize it, but when we watch a movie that's scary or weird, that's actually something that we're consuming. And so for a small child, it can actually darken their dream if it's too dark of a media. And so teaching people how to watch media, teaching people how to enjoy a television program, seeing themselves on the program. Because when you come to an event like today, we're at Family Fun Day, we were there and the kids knew me. So as soon as I brought the rooster out and was talking story, they all came around me and wanted to tell me something. The other thing I wanted to say is the reason that the show is because this island still has its wild moa, its wild chickens. And a lot of people don't understand that the chickens on this island are really symbolic of the strength and the sovereignty of Kauai. And it's one of those things where if we could protect our chickens, even though we don't like them when we're waking up in the morning, we could really think of them as that ha'eo, that pride of the island, then I believe personally we'd have a better sense of that for ourselves.
So Mark Jeffers, you did a lot for this community. You continue to do a lot for the community, particularly for the sake of the children. If we were to look in the Uncle Mark Jeffers crystal ball as we stand here on this spring day in 1997, as far as the next couple of years, 2, 3 years, maybe 5 years down the line, right. Tell us what you feel your vision would be for this exact building that we're standing in front of.
Well, first of all, I want to say it's not just my vision. I have a strong board of trustees, and we have a steering committee that meets regularly. We're looking for people who are interested in kids and storytelling and media. So if people want to volunteer to help with the building, you know, all of those ideas we take into the account. I also listen to teachers when they tell me if they like my stories or not, or I listen to kids if they like my stories or not. So it's not only my vision. I'm kind of the channel for it sometimes. But the vision for this building is, number one, finish raising the money we need for the construction. So we're looking for donations to help us to get this building done. We hope that by the summertime we can begin construction on this building. One of the things I learned in theater, doing a lot of theater for kids, Dickie, is that it's comparatively easy to do 1 or 2 shows. What's hard is to do that show over and over and over and over and over again. What we've been able to succeed at is 25 shows right in a row, different show every week. So my goal for the program itself is to keep the consistency of the shows happening and the quality of the shows happening, and even begin to distribute our shows and our programs on Oahu for Oahu kids and Maui and the Big Island, and try to even link up with cable networks on the mainland, see what's happening in educational television for children on the mainland. So I would say that in 2 or 3 years, our show has full sponsorship, and that we are distributing our show at least on the mainland and even looking to Japan. When this media center is done, we'll be top of the line. We'll be able to send our programs anywhere in the world. Now, I think that's important because it's good for children to know what it's like being a child everywhere. What's it like being a child growing up in Korea? And once we begin to establish that sense of international familyness, our children will grow up having that sense. We didn't because we weren't that connected, but they can. Now, the other thing is actually one of my goals for this building and this vision is to actually have children participate in making the media, learning how to make media, so that they are familiar with it. It's not just something that drops in off a plane on Kauai and then we watch it. It's something that we know how media works. And so when we watch it, we can watch it with a discerning eye, knowing what's not healthy to watch. So as this center, my goal, I can't see very far because I'm standing in front of a building that might fall down in the next year or so. So I want to make Hanapepe my home and this building the home of Storybook Theater. And we're open to ideas. Every day I work in my office at the United Church of Christ in Hanapepe. I love to get phone calls from people with ideas. A lot of times people call me and just said, Mark, have you thought about talking with these people about doing a show? Or would you come to my preschool and do a show? So I'm taking pretty much a day and a week at a time. And of course, our vision is a global media venture. And we envision ourselves in 5 years being able to travel to Madagascar and do children's television for the African children. The year 2000 doesn't really strike me as any kind of big-time milestone. We've been hitting hard every year and changing and growing every year. 2000 will be a goal, I guess, in the sense is that we'd like to have this building tight, waterproof, lots of equipment inside, and people coming in and out every day.
So, Uncle Mark Jeffers, lastly, how important is it for this community to rally in a project as such, primarily for the sole purpose of the children and for the future of Kauai?
Well, I think, you know, when we talk about community, we want to broaden our scope there, thinking that the show already is all around the island. So the community of people who are interested in educational television, that's the community I want to appeal to. That's bigger than Hanapepe. Hanapepe are people that have lived here a long time, or people that are newcomers and starting new businesses, and they want to see Hanapepe spring back and grow up. They're looking for a way that this town can really be put on the map again in terms of its economic viability. I believe personally that I would like to have our home here, but I would want to make sure that we touch each community on this island equally, and that people in that community feel as though they can connect with us and be part of the Russell the Rooster show or whatever show we're putting together at the time. So get on board, give us a call, or when you see us out there, give us a crow. Right on.